Well, pay Jason for me.
Either he wants to say something or eat something, one of the two.
Take the opportunity to put up musical interest.
Acting, dancing, and now singing a Grammy winner.
After those movies, and particularly Night Shift and Gung Ho.
Really? Never knew that.
Welcome to Just Talkin'. We have a great show for you today. Why? Because we have none other than Pat Kozer here from the Kenosha Art Association. Pat, nice to see you today. So let's see, for those who don't know about the Kenosha Art Association, what is it?
The Kenosha Art Association is a nonprofit organization that's been around since 1950. We do art education, and art appreciation for the Kenosha area.
How did you get involved in the Kenosha Art Association?
Actually, I was at work one day, back in the day. I worked at Pershing Plaza, and Peggy Bozon, a member of the Art Association for a long time, came in and was talking to me, and she saw me doodling on the counter. I'm just drawing little things on the counter, and she said, "Oh, you should become a member of the Art Association." And I went down to class, and that was like 1984, and I've been staying ever since and enjoying a lot of stuff.
Why should someone join the Kenosha Art Association?
It's a great way to meet other artists and maybe try different types of art that you maybe wouldn't try. Like lately I've been doing felting, and I never did felting before, and it's just taking raw wool and using needles that have like little barbs on them, and then you go up and down into the felt and you can make it into a lot of different things.
What different art classes do they offer?
We have felting, we have watercolor with Barb Farrow, very excellent instructor. She's been a member for a long time too. Oh, let's see, we've done pastel drawing, we used to do clay sculpture, but we're not doing that right now. The facility doesn't let us have that there. And we have, let's see, some drawing, paint, acrylic painting, oil painting. We did some wood carving with Mark Whiteside. He was a longtime member of the Art Association.
So, well, I hear big news that it's the 70th anniversary of the Kenosha Art Association. Let's hear all about it.
Yeah, the Kenosha Art Association started back in 1950. It was just a group of people were meeting somewhere at somebody's house, and they said, you know, we really should have art more in Kenosha. At that time, they did not offer art classes for children in Kenosha. And that was one of the things they wanted to do, is also offer art classes for children. And I believe, I don't remember the exact date, it was sometime in 1951, they offered a summer art program to children, and they expected maybe 60 children to show up, and over 600 children signed up for this class. So they had the quick scramble, get more teachers, get more supplies and different things, but they were really, and that went on for a couple of years during the summer, and then they had a couple throughout the year also. And then it was kind of from that stemmed the Kenosha Unified to offer art classes in their class.
So is there an event coming up that we can talk about that's going to celebrate the...
we're going to celebrate the Art Association, and we're going to start out with our annual art event, which we've had at a couple different locations in town. And it starts out with an art competition, any age group. You bring in your artwork. We have a competition. The judge will judge the artwork, and it's in either 2D or 3D, two-dimensional, three-dimensional artwork, and also for children too. And then after the artwork has been judged, then we usually do some form of speaker. And this year we're collaborating with all the scrapbooks that we've had since 1950, and going through the scrapbooks, taking pictures of different events that they've had, anything from, they used to have an art show on the 6th Avenue Bridge that is really technically no longer there. And they had different shows at the museums. We have an annual membership show every year. This year we're doing our annual membership show at the Kenosha Creative Space. Anyone who's a member of the Art Association can be in that show. And we're also going to try and see if we can have some of the past members work in. Like, I know myself, I own some, June Knutson, I own Virginia Tapman. Those are two of the starting members of the Art Association way back in 1950. And I I have a whole bunch of artwork at my house.
That's great.
So we're going to bring
And
some
so
of that.
does
Yeah.
everybody else.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
And that's what's great about Kenosha is that there's a lot of art displayed throughout the community as well. Are you still going to be involved in that Get Behind the Arts?
Yeah, we'll be in the, I'm glad you mentioned that. We'll be in Get Behind the Arts, and we'll be at the Creative Space, and then we're next door to the Creative Space at the Art Association. And we'll have some demonstrations and artwork for sale. And
If someone wants to learn more about the Kenosha Art Association, is there a website or Facebook?
yeah, we can go to KenoshaArtAssociation.org, and you can just go right to the website on that one. Actually, .com, sorry. And then there's a Facebook page you can go to just Kenosha Art Association, and it'll come up.
Any last minute things that you want to mention about the Kenosha Art Association?
Just that it's a nice organization. Like I said, been around since 1950. We've done numerous different community events, and we also give scholarships to Parkside every year, $500 scholarship, and we do different community events. We do the Civic Center Art Show. That's the Good Old Summertime Art Fair. We have a big turnout because we're pretty much one of the first outside art shows in the area.
Wow.
So, in the beginning of the season. So,
Excellent. Well, once again, congratulations to the Kenosha Art Association for 70 years, and we want to thank you so much for stopping by today.
okay, thanks a lot.
Okay, welcome back. And in the studio, we got a great guest this evening. We have our the Pleasant Prairie Village Administrator, Nathan Teal. Let's give a round of applause. Nathan, so good to see you. Thanks so much for coming on down. For those who don't know what the Village Administrator of Pleasant Prairie does, what is the role and responsibility?
You know, I get asked that question a lot. You know, people know what a fireman does, they know what a police officer does, but what does the village administrator do? And basically, I'm responsible for all those village employees. So the best way to put it is that somebody needs to make sure that the checks are written, and somebody needs to make sure that the village follows a certain budget and is making sure that the services get provided to all the constituents of the municipality. And so that's what I do, is I oversee the management and administration of the village as a whole. So you know what a public works crew does when they're plowing your roads, you know what a police officer does and what a fireman does. Well, you need somebody to help manage all of that. So
Got it.
that's in a brief.
For the village board, now how does they work with Pleasant Prairie? What is a village board?
Yeah, so the village board, basically their main responsibility is to set the policy and the direction of the village. And so it's to make sure that the staff have direction as far as what we're supposed to be kind of prioritizing. So typically when we go out for contracts for certain services, the village board will review those contracts and make sure that we're living up to kind of the will of the public, if you will.
Big news that's always that's going on is the Green Center, the Village Green Center. Maybe for those who don't know about it, where did this all come about? What is it? Let's hear all about it.
Yeah. So the Village Green Center, the Village of Pleasant Prairie, really, we've only been in existence as an incorporated village for about 30 years. Actually, this year was our 30th year anniversary. And you know, we've been known for being a very rural municipality. We've had quite a bit of growth and development, but we don't have any real center, any downtown location within the village. We have lots of neighborhoods, and in kind of that rural feel, a lot of natural areas. And the desire has always been, since we've incorporated, to create and develop a downtown, a kind of a central hub, if you will. And so where our current village offices are, that's been designed to serve as that central location, and our desire is to develop it and create a downtown, a village green center, if you will.
what's going to go on in the downtown area? Do you have community input? Does the village board decide? Do you decide? Where does that
Yeah,
come
so actually last year, so this time last year, the village actually made some pretty significant steps to developing a downtown. The first step was to actually purchase land. There was about 80 acres that was purchased by the village. Originally, it had been owned by a developer who had interest in the past to be a major participant in the development of a downtown. But just with the downturn in 2008, they never really gained momentum or picked momentum. So the village last year purchased this property. And then we went through this whole year. We went through a community engagement piece where we basically invited village residents to participate in a visioning process for the downtown. That took place over a period of 8 months. We had our first kickoff meeting. We had over 150 people show up, which was a phenomenal turnout. And from that 150, we had about 90 individuals sign up to participate on basically an every other week meeting in committees to discuss what they wanted to see in the Village Green. And over time, we probably had a good 60 individuals who were strong participants or strong volunteers. We had probably about 1,500 volunteer hours that went into this whole process of creating a vision for the downtown. And we actually, earlier this year, I think it was in July, we had an open house where they kind of unveiled this committee, this community collaborations group, unveiled what they were hoping to see for a downtown.
So they're hoping to see certain areas, like is it entertainment venues? Is it the shops? What different areas?
So what came out of that whole envisioning process? So it's a multitude of things. One, we're going to need to create some livable space, right? We're going to need to create some residential space in the downtown. It will have more of a little bit of a denser feel, so you'll have apartments and condos and row homes and things of that nature to provide enough mass or enough individuals in the downtown. But the thought process is also to have a commerce area. So we'd like to have some retail and then have some public amenities too as well. And so a couple of the public amenities that were discussed was what's known as a public market. So it's kind of a food market with some programming to allow individuals to kind of interact with both food and also culinary arts. And a beer garden was also a desired output of that public market area. Another aspect was some type of art entertainment venue or an artplex. Community center where the arts are encouraged. So uses in that artplex were considered like maker spaces, also maybe a theater. So there's a lot of discussion. We're still in kind of our preliminary processes, but a lot of good thoughts came out of that community envisioning group.
And that's great, because then you can now see that there's a community interest in this and people want to participate. And this will be great for tourism too, because it'll bring it down to that area.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting because typically what you see is the exact opposite, right? A village will hire a consultant, and then that consultant will kind of have a formula, and they'll ask for community input, and the community will look at their template and will put kind of their twist. Their input will change the look and feel or the makeup of the design or the master plan for the area. But generally speaking, it's the consultant's design. And in this case, what happened was the public had the first get-go. They were able to design and outline what they wanted to see. And now we're actually bringing in a consultant on the back end. We've actually hired Rinka, an architectural firm, to develop a master plan. And so they're using all the input and the vision that the community collaboration group had to basically design a master plan based off of of the community input that we already received.
Wow.
So.
Well, even though you're in the preliminary stages, any rough target date when this is all said and done and we have a ribbon cutting?
Oh, well, I'd love to say that it's going to be tomorrow.
Yeah, I know.
So as far as a lot of the heavy work has been done. The community input has taken place. A large part of the land has been purchased. So right now we're in the process of developing a master plan. We've hired Rinka, as I mentioned. They'll be taking the next 6 months with staff input, and also several members of this community collaboration group are continuing on as kind of an advisory committee. And so for the next 6 months, we're going to be developing this master plan. And then at which time, Rinka will then go to the next step of kind of recruiting developers to develop pieces of the master plan.
Okay.
And so we hope, the timeline after the 6 months, we hope to sometime in fall start breaking ground of 2020.
Also, we got to touch on also is the industrial parks too, and the business parks. Has there been any businesses that we can touch on that have come in the Pleasant Prairie?
Yeah, actually, next week we're going to be having a grand opening of United Conveyor Corporation. They're a relatively new business to the Kenosha area or to Pleasant Prairie. They purchased a prefabbed kind of an open or a blank slate industrial building at just north of Jelly Belly. So they're actually opening this next week. It was about a $20 million investment on their part, and will bring 30 employees into the area. That's just one aspect. We have Fresenius Kabai, which is about a 590,000 square foot facility in the far southwestern corner of Pleasant Prairie. So a huge facility, promising about 95 jobs. They're basically a fulfillment center for pharmaceutical needs. So Fresenius Kabai has a facility in Kenosha already, but this will be a sister facility to that facility.
Every time we go out to Pleasant Prairie, you got the great Recplex, and is there any like parks or biking, hiking trails at Pleasant Prairie that the community can go to? Or?
Yeah. So, well, you mentioned one already, the Recplex, and around the Recplex is Lake Andrea, right?
Yes.
And if you were to go, there's probably about a 2.5 mile bike trail all the way around Lake Andrea, which is gorgeous. And if anyone hasn't been out there yet, I would highly encourage it, even this time of year. And then also within Kenosha County, they have the Kenosha County Bike Trail that cuts through Pleasant Prairie. It was basically an old railway system, and that trail is used quite frequently. And then further, if you go into Carroll Beach area, there's Lakeshore Drive. You'll see a lot of individuals biking and rollerblading and hiking on Lakeshore Drive.
We just have a couple minutes left. Was there any other areas of Pleasant Prairie you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, the only other thing that I would touch base or highlight is the Prairie Highlands Corporate Park development. The village this year completed all of its infrastructure out there. So this is the site where Haribo is going to be locating.
Oh, yeah.
You might already see the Aurora facility is making its way towards completion of construction. That's slated to be opened in 2020. And then just recently we announced Nexus Pharmaceuticals, first pharmaceutical manufacturer in the state of Wisconsin in quite a while, will be locating in Pleasant Prairie, the Prairie Highlands Corporate Park. And that's a pretty significant win for the state of Wisconsin.
Well, we always leave it one last question. Why should someone come, live, or visit in Pleasant Prairie?
Well, I think the name says it all, right? It's pleasant, and you're connecting to nature. One thing that we always like to say is that the village is significantly interested in preserving and promoting our investment in community. And so that's one thing that you'll know, that when you come here, providing the best services that we can. We often tout that we have the best roads during the wintertime because of plowing and salting. I think just from my experience, I've been a resident here for now 1.5 years, and it's been awesome. Neighbors are wonderful. and it's just a great community to live and raise a family.
All right. Well, on that note, let's give a round of applause to Nathan Teal, Village Administrator of Pleasant Prairie, and by all means, go on their website, go on RecPlex website. It's a great village, so go on down to Pleasant Prairie. Let's give a big round of applause for Nathan Teal for coming on down.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back.
As a parent, I know one of the most important times to be with your children is when they aren't feeling well. For many families, there's a place they can go to find the support they need.
Ronald McDonald House Charities programs provide that supportive environment so families can be together while their children are dealing with serious illnesses.
You can volunteer your time at a local Ronald McDonald House or drop your change in an RMHC canister.
Today is a great day for all of us to show our support.
To find out how you can get involved in your community, visit rmhc.org.
Welcome back, and we have a great guest for us today, and that's the Executive Director of the Kenosha History Center, Mr. Chris Allen. Chris, thank you so much for talking with us today. To start us off, well, maybe those who haven't know about the History Center, what is it?
So the History Center is actually run by the Kenosha County Historical Society, and the Kenosha History Center is located on Simmons Island in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And we also run the Southport Light Station Museum. So it's really a campus of 2 museums, and really our mission is to preserve the past so that we can educate the future. The topics that we cover are all Kenosha history related.
Which was very interesting, because I know on the social media sites you've been posting some great, interesting articles about Kenosha history. And because we are in this pandemic, back in 1918, when there was a pandemic, did that affect Kenosha at all?
Oh yeah, absolutely. As it affected the rest of the world. So what we've been doing during this pandemic time, since the museum is closed to the public, what we've been doing is moving a lot of our content onto our social media pages, and really just continuing our mission of educating about Kenosha history. So in 1918, the city did decide to do a quarantine of sorts at that point. Like I said, the pandemic at that point really affected all communities, and Kenosha wasn't spared, unfortunately.
With the History Center is that there's history going on now as far as our pandemic, and people probably 20, 30 years from now will come to the History Center to learn about our pandemic that we've been going through.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right, Jason. We are living in historical times. There's no doubt about it. People are going to look back at this time, and they're going to want to learn from it. They're going to want to see how people lived. What are people doing right now? So what we've asked people to do in our community is to save that history. And there's a few ways to do that. What we're encouraging people to do right now is to do journaling, both video journaling, what we're doing kind of right now even, as well as the written word, writing down thoughts. What are your feelings right now? Are you angry? Are you sad? Capturing the community with photographs, when you go to the grocery store and you see those long lines and you see the tape, encouraging people to stay 6 feet apart. And then also artifacts. When we tell the story here at the History Center, we do it through exhibits usually. And we were just talking in a meeting not too long ago, what are the artifacts that are going to come out of this time period? I was joking around with a few of my colleagues and I said toilet paper. Toilet paper. It's one of those things that we stick in that case, along with, numerous other things like face masks and gloves and that sort of thing. But I think what we do, not just during this time, but it's collecting that history so we can share it with people later on and show how people lived.
Anything other Kenosha history facts that you'd like to bring up? I know I saw a recent one about that Walt Disney was actually involved in creating commercials for the
Yeah, American Motors Corporation, they had their hands in a lot of things. And American Motors Corporation, AMC as a lot of people call it, they had a partnership with Disney at one time. And Disney had different ads featuring AMC cars. The one that we shared on our Facebook recently was featuring Jiminy Cricket. So there's just so much history around us. Recently, we shared a video of the All-American Girls Baseball League here in Kenosha. It was the Kenosha Comets that were playing. So we're putting a lot of content, like I said, up on our Facebook page and other places, trying to share that history. If you go through our website and actually go to the top, the education tab, a few years back, we had a major project here to digitize a lot of our photographs in our archives, and people can discover these photographs from the comforts of their home right now. And it's really thousands of photographs that are online and accessible to everybody to learn from the past. And included with those photographs is some information about the area and that specific photograph.
Was one topic that you choose that's very interesting about Kenosha, what would it be?
Well, my favorite topic, and it's really from my schooling background, it's the industrial history portion. So I get really excited about industrial history. I think the fact that Kenosha went from a farm town into this huge industrial center and then has since deindustrialized quite a bit. It's just a really interesting topic. You talk about American Motors and Nash Motors Corporation, the big car companies here, but there's a lot of other companies here at one point too. Simmons, who was making mattresses, Peter Pierce with the fire trucks, McWhite Wire Rope, and the list goes on and on and on. Actually, just before our closure here, we acquired a Bain wagon, and we brought the Bain wagon home to Kenosha on Edward Bain's birthday. That's one of our new artifacts. Was probably about the turn of the century when this wagon was created. Bain was here in the 1850s and up through about, I think it was 1926 that they finally went out of business and sold the company. But really, those industrial stories are what excites me the most.
All right. Well, if people want to learn more about the Kenosha History Center, website, address, phone number, let's see here.
Our website is Kenosha History Center. You can call us at 262-654-5770. We are still planning here. Our staff is still hard at work and trying to figure out really what the future holds here. And we have some really exciting programs that we're working on. The Library Park walking tours, we're hoping that we still get to do a few of those this summer. And we have a lot in store. So you can discover us, like I said, on our website. We have a Facebook page, Kenosha History Center. And we also have a Twitter account at Kenosha History.
Well, the Kenosha History Center is a great source for local Kenosha history. It's a great museum, and the content that you've been putting on. We thank you so much, Chris, for talking with us today, and thank you so much for providing us with all that information.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on, Jason.